Tonight, one of Britain's top policemen faces suspension. Paul Whitehouse of Sussex Police is investigated over his handling of a fatal shooting.
GM food, now some fast food restaurants ban it as well.
Health scare as breast implants are banned.
And a hand that made history. We have an exclusive report.
This is Sky News at 10, live from Sky Centre, with Bob Friend and Anna Botting.
Good evening. The Chief Constable of Sussex Police is facing suspension tonight. Paul Whitehouse is being investigated for allegedly misleading the public over the fatal shooting of an unarmed man. His deputy has already been suspended and both now face disciplinary proceedings.
It was an unprecedented decision by police authority members calling for the suspension of their top officer only weeks after taking the same action against his deputy over the fatal shooting of an unarmed man.
Police authority that Paul Whitehouse, the Chief Constable of Sussex, should be suspended.
At main door, confronted by a figure running at them with his arm outstretched, an officer fired one fatal shot. But initial reports suggested that after the officers burst in, the suspect moved only a little before the officer shot him.
The agenda that's presently being run, which is one I think...
The man whose findings led to the row over genetically modified food told MPs today that he stood by his research. Arpad Pushtai said he'd been vilified in the press and by his peers. Also today, some of Britain's biggest fast food retailers decided to ban genetically modified food from their products.
Star.
Breast implants used by more than 5,000 women in Britain have been banned after a safety scare. Some women have suffered redness and swelling after using the Trilucent implants, which were introduced in 1995. Trilucent contains a soya-based gel, which is supposed to be safer than silicone.
This is Sky News at 10. Reports coming up. Brown's budget. We visit our virtual shopping centre to find out what's in store.
And signs of strain, why Monica could not handle the pressure. Two
American doctors who claim to have evidence that baby Matthew Eapen was strangled said tonight that crucial evidence was not presented at Louise Woodward's trial for his murder. They also said they stand by their findings. Woodward has again vowed to clear her name and says one day she will be vindicated.
Boston.
Well, joining us now from Boston is Andrew Good, one of Louise Woodward's former defence lawyers. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Do you think this extensive television investigation could actually clear Louise?
Well, it could start the process of clearing Louise. It won't do it by itself, but it suggests some leads which, if followed and if they turn out to be accurate, could start that process, yes.
Now, you've had a passionate interest in the case. What can actually be done your side of the Atlantic now?
Well, we intend to be in touch.
Former press spokesman Sir Bernard Ingham was bound over to keep the peace today after a long-running row with his neighbours. He had also faced a charge of causing criminal damage to a neighbour's Mercedes car, but it was withdrawn. Ramblers are to be allowed by law to walk across millions of acres of mountains and moors under new legislation announced today. But the government has backed away from allowing access to developed or agricultural land.
Massive secrecy surrounds Gordon Brown's budget tonight, his third since he became Chancellor. It's thought he's planning a budget which will be kind to the environment, but not the car owner. Sky's Martin Stamford is in our cyber high street to see what the Chancellor might deliver.
Hello, welcome to the cafe bar area, to our virtual shopping mall for the budget this year. We were just remarking that last time round, spirits escaped any kind of increase in taxation. Wonder if the same might be true for wine and for beer. After all, this is a Chancellor who's got booze cruises to deal with. Keeping an eye on other things, of course. We've got a chemist, we've got a post office here. And what about this? The Building Society. Mortgage interest relief at source is set to be scrapped, we're told. Will it be? That 10p starting rate of tax will affect the workers here at the Inland Revenue Office. And if people lose their married couples allowance, will that really stop them getting married? At the Benefits Agency, well, we're looking for above the rate of inflation increase in child benefit. That's one certainty, or so we're told. But motoring, of course, is another cost for all of us, isn't it? And each year the Chancellor normally hits us some way. If you're going to drive a bigger car, we think that could be particularly more expensive, not least in the tax disc you have to pay on the windscreen. Of course, we all have to pay for fuel, don't we? Whatever kind of petrol we fill up our car with, we reckon that is going to be much more expensive. And what about this little problem here? The prospect of having to pay just for the privilege of parking your car at work. All in all, motoring is definitely going to be more expensive.
Well, Sky News' budget coverage begins at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Let's take a look at the city now. The FTSE 100 closed up slightly, and in New York, the Dow Jones closed down just slightly.
You're watching Sky News at 10. Still to come, homes evacuated after heavy rain in North Yorkshire.
The baby who died after a tired doctor made a mistake.
And a remarkable recovery with a helping hand.
News can show it all. Whatever the sport, whatever the event, if it's exciting, we'll show you the highlights. If you're talking about it, so are we. The most comprehensive roundup of the day's sports news anywhere on television. Don't make do with a limited view. Get the complete picture. Sportsline. Weeknights at the new time of 10:30 and weekends at 7:30. Only on Sky News. Forever.
This is Sky News at 10. The top story so far this evening. One of Britain's top policemen, the Chief Constable of Sussex, Paul Whitehouse, is facing suspension tonight. His police authority says he's allegedly misled the public over the shooting of an unarmed man.
Now, a remarkable medical story. Clint Hallam lost his arm in a chainsaw accident nearly 20 years ago, but now he's made history as the first recipient of a hand transplant. He's been speaking exclusively to Sky News as doctors predict that the extraordinary operation will be a long-term success.
In London.
There's been a breakthrough tonight in the search for peace in Kosovo. The Kosovo Liberation Army says it will sign the deal negotiated in France last month. The decision's been given a guarded welcome.
Admitted today that he prescribed 10 times the dose of drugs that he should have done to a baby who later died. The doctor said he was tired. An inquest found baby Benjamin Adams died accidentally after Dr. Christian Slabbert put the decimal point in the wrong place on the prescription.
A mistake.
Now tonight's main sports headlines. The Leicester and England scrum half Austin Healey has had his ban for stamping increased to 8 weeks. Healey, who's already served a 3-week club ban for stamping on London Irish's Kevin Putt last month, now can't play until April the 10th. Celtic are through to the semi-finals of the Tennent's Scottish Cup after beating Greenock Morton 3-0 tonight. 2 goals from Marco Viduka and Henrik Larsson sent them through to the last 4, where they'll meet Ayr or Dundee United. The Scottish Football Association has sacked Jim Farry. He was suspended from his position as chief executive last week over the delay 3 years ago in the registration of former Celtic player George Cadet. And the West Indies were bowled out for just 51 runs by Australia in Trinidad today. That's the Windies' lowest ever test score. Australia won the match by 312 runs. Well, also on Sportsline tonight, reaction to that dramatic result in Trinidad with David Graveney live in the studio, and which football club has the best pitch in the Premiership.
Now let's take a look at some of the international stories and go around the world. The World Trade Organization met in emergency session today to call for a settlement in the trade war between Europe and America over bananas. Washington has imposed a series of tariffs on goods like cashmere because it says EU countries have been subsidizing Caribbean banana growers. In America, a major fire broke out after an explosion on a gas pipeline in Michigan. The flames could be seen from 20 miles away, and it took fire crews a number of hours to bring the blaze under control. And the baseball legend Joe DiMaggio died today at the age of 84 after losing a battle against cancer. DiMaggio played with the New York Yankees and set a batting record which has still not been broken. He was briefly married to Marilyn Monroe.
Well, here severe flooding has hit parts of North Yorkshire, leaving dozens of homes underwater. The River Derwent has burst its banks and water levels are still rising.
More than 60 families have had to move out of their homes as heavy rain and melting snow have swollen the River Derwent to record levels. 2,000.
Now, the pressure appeared to get to Monica Lewinsky today when she pulled out of a book signing session early. She was at Harrods to promote the book of her life story when she lost her composure in front of the cameras.
If ever proof.
Tonight's headlines: the Chief Constable of Sussex Police faces suspension over his handling of the fatal shooting of an unarmed man. And all eyes will be on the Chancellor Gordon Brown tomorrow as he delivers his third budget. Help for families, job seekers and the environment is expected.
Well, Sportsline is coming up. We'll leave you with some of the pictures that made the news on Monday, March the 8th. From Anna and me, good night.
Sky News weather, sponsored by Siemens Personal Computer.
Well, the view from space shows a real cluttered atmosphere. It looks like it's continuing in this vein for some days yet. On the movie, you'll see a snowstorm over the Baltic states, which is heading to Sweden. There's a great mass of rain pushing through France and Germany to Poland. And Spain and Portugal look fairly clear. It looks like it's going to stay that way through tomorrow. But for Britain, unfortunately, the weather's come across the North Sea here. From the east, it's quite a chill wind, a lot of cloud, but the grey tone of the cloud here suggests that this is small beer compared to the white of the massive bank of cloud that's across here, giving rain pumping into France. Very slowly, this mass of rain, which is beginning to develop in the Bay of Biscay, will edge towards the southwest of England there, and it'll arrive at the end of tomorrow and the start of Wednesday. And it's going to be heavy rain on Wednesday that's going to sweep up from southernmost counties of England into all of Wales and England on Wednesday, and then gradually it'll move away to the North Sea on Thursday. So we've got some heavy rain to come.
Sky News weather, sponsored by Siemens Personal Computer.